In C, Boeing signed a sandal billion contract with a single Japanese supplier for a material used in the wings and fuselage of its new ANAHAX Dreamliner. That supplier had started developing the material in Senkyu Lux I 43 years earlier for a market that at the time didn't exist.
The company is Toray Industries and the material is carbon fiber. Toray now supplies roughly half the world's carbon fiber, holds an exclusive structural contract with Boeing worth billions more, and got there by funding a technology for decades with no buyer in sight. The question worth asking isn't just how Toray became the dominant carbon fiber supplier on Earth. It's why a company would keep paying for a material nobody wanted to buy for that long, and what it tells you about how Japanese industrial conglomerates actually place their bets.
Toray started as Toyo Rayon in Senjubei Arsolik, a textile company built to domesticate synthetic fiber production in Japan. By the 1960s, Rayon itself was becoming obsolete, undercut by newer synthetics, and Toray began shifting its research budget toward more advanced polymer chemistry. In Senjubei Luk, one of those research lines was carbon fiber threads of pure carbon, woven and bonded into a material stronger than steel at a fraction of the weight. There was no product built from it yet. There was no customer asking for it. Toray researched it anyway.
It took a decade to reach commercial production. In Sinubo series, the company obtained rights to a foundational patent for making carbon fiber from PANU, a synthetic polymer, but it still lacked the technology to carbonize large volumes of that fiber reliably. Toray solved that by striking a technology exchange agreement with Union Carbide in the United States. Commercial carbon fiber production, under the brand name TORAYCA, began in Sinubo series ethane. The company had spent 10 years and considerable money to arrive at a product with almost nowhere to sell it.
For the next 3 decades, that product survived on golf shafts. Air carbon fiber boom in the sporting goods industry hit in Senchufak Nanasan, and Toray built out golf club shafts, tennis rackets, and fishing rods. High-end, low-volume goods where carbon fiber's strength-to-weight advantage justified its enormous cost. It wasn't a business built to fund an aerospace program. It was a business built to keep the underlying research alive long enough for a real customer to show up.
That customer was Boeing. Commercial aircraft manufacturers had spent decades bolting aluminum panels onto aluminum frames, a design that had defined air travel since the jet age began. By the early 2000s, Boeing wanted to build something different, an airliner that was more than half composite material by structural weight, lighter, more fuel efficient, and able to fly farther on less fuel. That required a supplier who could deliver carbon fiber pre-pregnated with resin at aerospace-grade consistency at volume for a multi-decade production run.
In May, RC, Boeing signed Toray as the exclusive supplier of structural carbon fiber material for the second Vase T Dreamliner's wings, fuselage and tail, a contract covering roughly second VAV aircraft, valued at approximately sandal billion.
The relationship kept expanding. In November, Narcisse, Toray and Boeing extended their agreement by more than a decade and added the 777X program, with TORAYCA pre-preg selected for that aircraft's composite wings as well. Combined, the value of carbon fiber pre-preg Toray agreed to supply across both the NANAHAKHT and 777X programs was expected to exceed a trillion yen, roughly $16 billion at the time. Toray backed the deal with a roughly $30 million investment in a new carbon fiber and pre-preg production line in Spartanburg County, South Carolina, built specifically to serve that supply commitment on American soil.
Today, Toray's position in the global carbon fiber market is close to unmatched. Analysts put its share at somewhere between Wuxas and Luxa%, ahead of rivals like Mitsubishi Chemical, Hexcel and Teijin. The same fiber that carries a Nidlehev Ashifrafeska Prokov also shows up in places far removed from aerospace, the wing spars of America's Cup sailboats, the frames pro cyclists ride in the Tour de France, the pressurized tanks holding hydrogen in fuel cell vehicles. Different industries, same underlying bet. Toray made in Sientubachusteten.
But the most recent numbers show that dominance doesn't insulate the business from cyclicality. In the fiscal year ended March, Toray Industries reported consolidated revenue of 1.4 billion or 1.5 trillion yen, up slightly year-over-year, with business profit of 1.4 billion or 1.2 billion yen, down 1%. Its carbon fiber composite materials segment specifically brought in 1.4 billion or 7 billion yen, flat compared to the year before, while segment profit fell 10% to 2 billion or 7 billion yen.
Aerospace demand is recovering steadily as Boeing ramps CFO production back up, but general industrial applications including pressure vessels have entered a slowdown, and demand for carbon fiber wind turbine blades, a market Toray had expected to grow, hasn't recovered on schedule.
That's the part of the story a highlight reel would skip. Even the company that won the defining materials contract of modern aerospace is still exposed to the ordinary unpredictability of industrial demand cycles. Being the dominant supplier of an irreplaceable material doesn't guarantee smooth earnings. It guarantees that when demand does come back, you're the only company positioned to fully capture it.
That's the real shape of the Toray story, and it's a pattern worth recognizing across Japanese industrial companies. This channel has covered Shin-Etsu's silicon wafers and Ibiden's chip substrates, cases where decades of unglamorous materials research eventually became the choke point an entire global industry depends on. Toray's version took even longer, 50 years from a research line with no market to a signed contract that assumed Sen-Woolback aircraft would be built, with the result. No company running on a 5-year investment horizon keeps funding a product line that survives on golf shafts for 3 decades.
Toray did because the research budget wasn't tied to proving out a return within a fiscal year. It was tied to a bet that eventually someone would need exactly what had already been perfected.
Boeing didn't create carbon fiber's aerospace moment. It walked into one that had already been 50 years in the making. If you want to keep up with stories like this, subscribe to the Japan Factor. The next material quietly funded through decades with no customer in sight is probably sitting in some Japanese conglomerate's research budget right now, waiting for an industry that doesn't exist yet.